This is Remix Report with your hosts, DJ JD and DJ J Spring.
Today's video brought to you by YourDJLogo.com. Get your new DJ logo today.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Remix Report. I'm DJ JD.
I'm DJ J Spring, and we have a couple special guests joining us today for our weekend recap. It's about time that we had you guys on. Rada, DJ Cova. What's going on?
What's up? What's up?
Gentlemen.
How are you guys?
We're doing good. I know you guys have a new track that you're about to come out with. We're actually going to put it on our site first, I think. Brian Adams' Summer of '69 remix. It's a, how would you describe it? It's like a progressive house. Is that fair to say?
Progressive is definitely the bucket.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So we're gonna get into that, and we'll get into how you're the only ones who have the acapella. We'll talk about that all later. So I guess we'll start off how we always start off.
Yeah, we'll start off talking about our weekends. I guess I'll start off. Friday night, I was at Shrine. It's our second week of our new Friday night called Fuck It, It's Friday. And actually ran into a couple sound issues on Friday night. We basically we put a portable air conditioner in the amp room to try to cool it off. It's been 4.5 years of more heat than should be in there, and so we put that in there, and it ends up heating up the room more than it cools it. So everything overheated, and music started cutting off around midnight, and ended up having to play from midnight to 2 o'clock at pretty much opening volume, which was pretty horrific. But got through it, figured it out, and that won't be a problem again, that's for sure.
That's good. This is, I mean, for those who don't know Shrine, and we're not saying this to brag, like Shrine is like a serious nightclub, and when something like this happens at a place like Shrine, like it doesn't happen often. Hopefully, it won't ever happen again.
Never
again. But it sucks when it does. It's not like, it's not quite the same as when the sound goes out at your local bar. I mean, and again, not saying that to brag about Shrine or anything, but it's just it was a pretty big deal when the sound went out there.
A little embarrassing.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. So, needless to say, it wasn't the most exciting night we've had there in a long time, but things are better this week, so everything was back to normal Saturday night when PS1 was rocking it. So, Saturday I was did a wedding at Saltwater Farm Vineyard, which is one of my favorite places to do weddings at. Has a great vibe over there. Got to break out the uplighting too, which was dope. And let's see, Sunday I was at Estate in Boston. Had me doing a Sweet 16 party up there. Parents rented out the nightclub for the night, which has to be awesome when you're 16 years old. So a bunch of 16-year-olds bumping and grinding all night, pretty much dry humping on the VIP booth right behind me. It was interesting. So they were definitely a hip-hop crowd. Much more than house. So
State is funny because they have those VIP tables are kind of right, literally. Is there one right in back of the DJ booth?
Yeah.
I remember DJing with Riz up there one time, and the VIP was just full, and like literally a dude was grinding on a girl with his back to Riz, so he's almost like kind of touching Riz, and Riz just like looked at me like, dude, is this serious? Is this really happening right now?
It gets a little intimate there sometimes on that stage. Yeah, it really does.
Those are the perks.
All right, how was your weekend, Spring?
My weekend was pretty good. I was at Scorpion Bar, which I was kind of the beneficiary of what happened at Shrine, because I think a lot of people ended up coming down the hall to Scorpion Bar, and so that ended up being a pretty busy Friday, unfortunately for you, and me too, because I work at Shrine too. Saturday I was at the Russian Lady in Hartford, which is probably the biggest place in Hartford. They definitely get a good crowd. They have like 4 different rooms. And one thing that was tough about that night was that they had this kind of stage, or it's more of an extension to the stage that I'm on in front of me. And they usually take it down, but they didn't this time. And people dancing on it kind of made it hard for me to actually see the actual crowd that was down where most people were dancing. And it was a little hard to see the crowd. It's kind of something I don't deal with too often, something we probably all don't deal with too often, not being able to see the crowd when you DJ. But it kind of makes you kind of question sometimes what you're playing and if it's going over good or not. I know when I play Salt Shaker and Party Up, I don't have to worry. But some of the other stuff I was kind of questioning a little bit. So it was definitely a little bit different with that. Sunday, yesterday I was at Shrine. It was actually pretty busy for, I guess, the night before Columbus Day. And last year, I think Labor Day is always busier than Columbus Day, at least the Sunday before at Shrine. So I did I think Sunday, I did Labor Day as well. And I wasn't really expecting much for yesterday. It was actually a pretty busy night. We didn't even have a late guy. We could have used a late guy probably. It was that busy. Yeah, so yesterday was a pretty good night at Shrine.
So you guys had a pretty big weekend, though. Tell us about your weekend.
I guess I'll go first. Friday.
Sure.
Sands Casino opened up a new bar, and that's the Sands Casino in Bethlehem, PA, by the way. Vision Bar. And Cova and I were fortunate enough to kick off the grand opening weekend. I played Friday. Cova played Saturday. I had a spectacular night. It was just about everything it was hyped up to be. Very exciting.
Do you think you kind of ruined it for Cova, having to come on the next day?
He set the expectations high, so yeah.
Okay. That's what friends do for you.
That's what friends do, yeah.
That's what they do.
They set it up.
But it was a great time. Great staff. It is definitely a hot spot to be reckoned with in your future, from what I can tell. And that was just on the Friday.
When I hear the word bar, I never think. I think the capacity there is something like 1,500 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I hear the word bar, it's like, you know, it should definitely be a club lounge, but it's a big place. Sound system's really nice. They actually just upgraded it. They had soft openings a few weeks. We were fortunate to play there a couple times, but this weekend was the grand opening. Now, we were supposed to play. They actually had billboards. So it was Friday, Saturday, these billboards on the highway, and we were supposed to go before Tiesto was there Sunday. But he hurt his back. They rescheduled till February. So hopefully we'll get a second time around in February, right around that time, and we'll time it perfect.
So what did they end up doing for that Sunday yesterday?
They said that actually everyone was really cool. That they just held their tickets.
Okay.
They just your tickets are good till February.
So they didn't open up at all?
No, not for today. I mean, TSs are hard. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have been open, but I don't think it would have been what, you know. Tiesto was, because they have auditorium kind of area. What's it called?
Right. They have like, well, yeah, I guess auditorium is the best way to describe it. It holds like 2,500, 3,000 people, and they do all other types of performances, sort of like, you know, what Vegas and Atlantic City would do, but that's in the neighboring room.
So it's attached. So when people leave, they funnel out into the club.
Now, how far is this from where you guys are? Wait, Cova, are you from Jersey too?
Yeah, I'm from Jersey City. I'm 5 minutes from Manhattan.
Okay.
Mo's not that far from Manhattan, but a little more central.
I'm close enough.
Yeah, but a little more central.
Close enough.
So how far is this from you in Jersey?
It's an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, so it's not too bad then.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a drive, but they hook you with a room and bottles, so
nice.
you get treated.
I was telling JD, I remember one time when you were in Pennsylvania, Mo, that I remember you put that picture. You're like, what the fuck? You're like, I get out of the club and I see JD's face.
I was
at
at Starters Riverport, I think, yeah, which is right around the corner from there.
Yeah, that was a good time. It was Pigpen in Allentown. Some jockey littered the whole parking lot with flyers.
So is
huh?
I was gonna say, is Bethlehem a big city in Pennsylvania, or was this club?
Honest, I was way too drunk to remember what was around me. So I just kind of drove in at night and left sometime when the sun came up. But no, I honest with you, I don't know. I just kind of drove right into the Sands Casino, and
they have casinos there. It's called the Valley, they call it, and it's Allentown and Bethlehem and Easton, and basically there's a big college there, and then in the whole midst of things, they're actually decent, like really, you know, like decent cities. They're reminiscent of, like, we have Hoboken by us. I mean, it's right by me, and it's right, you know, overlooking the water. So it's like a mini city, and you know, overlooking the water of the city, and theirs is kind of the same idea. The buildings are all attached. There's a lot of activity. So yeah, no, it's a good area. They actually partied just as hard as us. We went to when I played, we went to an after hours called Essence Lounge, and they're open till I think 4 or 5 in the morning. And they were going in, so it was good. You would never think, but it's good.
I'm glad one of you paid attention to where you were.
Yeah, ask me. Let me skip him.
I usually bring in a dope when I travel.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna talk about your the Bryan Adams track in a second. First, we have some news to get to.
Yeah, not a whole lot of news again this week, but Serato did release or is announced a new DJ software called Serato DJ. Basically, it's replacing Itch, and this whole changeover is a little confusing, but hopefully we'll be able to clear some of this stuff up for you. So, last year, Serato released Serato DJ Intro, which was a super cheap version of Serato that like Newmark and other controller manufacturers could release with their really inexpensive controllers to get DJs into DJing with a computer, and pretty much the only thing available for them at that point was Virtual DJ and Tractor LE. So Serato DJ Intro is the lowest version of Serato, basically. So now Serato DJ is going to be the upgrade to that. So if you have Serato DJ Intro, you can upgrade to Serato DJ for $200. Again, Serato DJ is replacing Itch, so if you have Itch, you get your upgrade to Serato DJ.
They didn't really get too creative with the name this time.
Not really. I'm gonna miss Itch. I mean, I think it made sense. You know, the Itch to the scratch. I liked it, but
I never even thought about that before.
Yeah.
Did you guys think about that? I never thought about that before.
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
I didn't know it's something that had to be thought about, but okay.
Well, I never used Itch before.
So Serato DJ will eventually work with all the Intro and Itch controllers that exist today, the NS7, NS6, things like that. Serato in their FAQ said the release of Serato DJ doesn't affect the current release plan for Serato Scratch Live. Serato DJ is bringing the experience of our controller software closer to that of Scratch Live. Newmark in their press release about this said Serato DJ includes a wide range of all new features and capabilities, including stunning new effects powered by Isotope, ultra flexible and intuitive MIDI mapping, the ability to set and trigger up to 8 cue points, a totally refreshed user interface, 4 deck mixing, and more. So instead of 5 cue points, you get 8. I kind of like the sound of that. Also, Pioneer released or is releasing the first hardware to go along with this, called the Pioneer DDJ-SX. Has 8 touchpads under each deck, so you have your samples and cue points there. It definitely looks interesting if you're a controller DJ. So,
wait, this Pioneer thing is to go along with.
It's the first controller for this new Serato DJ.
I thought that Pioneer wasn't doing stuff with Serato. Was I out of the loop?
I think so.
Well, they had the S1, which used Itch.
Yep.
So they did.
Yep.
Is it the Pioneer mixer that includes the Tractor? I thought.
Right. Yeah. That doesn't include Serato capability.
T1 and S1 was for Serato.
Okay.
And the DJM 900, which has the Tractor sound card built in.
Okay.
I like the extra cue points.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always run cue points.
Yeah.
Especially with house tracks, you're trying to get more creative on the way you drop them, and depending on the feel of the night and the crowd, if they're in the house, they're not really in the house. It's really nice to have that 6th cue point.
So you guys prefer to use the cue points rather than make edits beforehand?
Sometimes you don't always have the time to make an edit, so I kind of like relying on old school creativity. Just cue it up, kind of rehearse how I'm going to do it in my head, and say 9 times out of 10 it actually works out.
I used to do a lot of edits. For some reason lately, I just haven't made the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's lack of time or not made the time, but I mean, edits, it's a great idea because it's usually in and out exactly what you need, or you rearrange stuff the way you like it.
He's lazy.
It's something like that. Yeah.
There's definitely certain things you can't do without making a physical edit of the track, but most things you can accomplish by just finding a different place to mix in or out of the track, and like cutting out, mixing in during a build-up instead of dropping before the build-up and letting that whole dead space happen, things like that. So, other interesting news, this was on CNN, Lil Wayne passed Elvis for the most tracks ever on the Hot 100 Billboard Hot 100.
We don't normally get any of our news from CNN. Normally, all our news is from Facebook. But we'll make an exception today.
So Elvis had a total of 108 hits in the Hot 100, which is sure a whole lot. And Lil Wayne just passed him with number 109 for being on the game's Celebration.
Now, we were talking about this beforehand, and there's a lot of differences, obviously, about the state of the music industry now as opposed to back then.
I'm pretty sure Elvis didn't reach 108 by being featured on a track for spitting 16 bars on a track. I'm pretty sure he didn't reach the most songs in the Hot 100 for that. I'm pretty sure it was for actually singing and recording pretty much the whole entire song.
You mad, bro? You sound like you're a little upset about that.
That definitely is not equal. I would say that.
Do you guys remember seeing on Facebook the picture that kind of went viral probably 6 months or a year ago about it kind of broke down all the different pop artists from today and the records that they held over the older artists. Like it said, like Katy Perry has more #1 singles than the Beatles, and then this person has more straight weeks of this than that. Do you guys remember seeing that at all on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that kind of stuck out to me, and I always tend to look like the bad guy when I say this stuff, is that I don't really understand how people look at everything that's pop music today as being corny, but everyone respects the Beatles and Elvis. And I understand that artists of today kind of were probably inspired by the pop artists from before. I understand that part. But like everyone today thinks that NSYNC is corny and the Backstreet Boys are corny. But I'm sure the people in the 60s looked at the Beatles the same way as kids these days look at NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Maybe I'm just crazy. What do you guys think about this?
Totally agree. I totally agree.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know. In my own head, I think it's like the progressive, I don't know what the word I want to use is, recycle.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in general always thinks that what came before the older stuff, whether it's athletes or musicians, are always better than the current ones. I get that feeling all the time.
It's a generational thing, definitely, but I mean, there's some truth to it as well. NSYNC didn't write any of their songs. They sang them, yes, they didn't write any of them. The Beatles wrote, sang, and recorded all their songs. Elvis, probably half of them. Michael Jackson, most of them. At least had input on most of them. I mean, most of the people today, they have a songwriting team and all this. I mean, so did most of the Motown people had songwriting teams and all that stuff too. And whatever. I mean, those songwriting teams get a lot of credit for making those songs. But, I don't know, today it just seems, I don't know, it's just not, it's not the same.
It is funny that
I understand where you're coming from and what you're saying there. But
I think it's a combination of, because you have certain artists like, example, like Hammer and all those goofy guys, you know, the goofy hip hop, and now it comes back and it's cool. So I get that part. The other thing too you have to think about was the actual, like when you talk about the Beatles and stuff like that, the actual process of recording. Like it wasn't so easy with tape. And
JD went over that with me earlier. He said, told me all the takes.
Yeah, with tape, like
4 tracks.
Was really cut and paste was really cut and paste. Like you would cut tape, paste it, you know. A lot of people don't understand that the limitations of a 2-channel, you know what I'm saying, 2 or 4 tracks, whatever they had back then, and then they had to do the whole, obviously like Phil Spector, which was later, like the whole wall of sound. I mean, it was involved. I mean, just the boards and everything, the miking, everything had to be just right, and the takes weren't like, you know, hey, let's just go back and we have unlimited channels. So.
And they didn't get everything perfect. I mean, you hear little mistakes and stuff wasn't totally in sync all the time, but it gave the music a feel that you don't really get these days, you know.
And they had to be musicians.
Yeah, first and foremost, yeah.
I was playing devil's advocate earlier with JD before we jumped on here, and not that I'm sticking up for like 2 Chainz over Elvis. I don't want anybody to get that impression.
2 Chainz.
To play devil's advocate though, how you mentioned that it was a lot tougher to record back then than it is now, and now it's so easy, also means that there's a lot more competition these days. So I kind of see it both ways there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're going to talk about the competition thing in a little bit with that letter to the mediocre rapper that someone wrote, which we're going to post on the site.
All right. Why don't we tell everybody about the podcast really quick, and then we can talk about the mediocre rapper, and then we'll get into all your guys' cool, interesting music. We do want to let everybody know that you can get Remix Report as an audio-only podcast on iTunes if you want to listen in the car, or our soothing voices as you go to sleep or something. Definitely
Vibe says
download the podcast.
Vibe says he just tunes me out when he listens to the weekend recap.
What?
Yeah, crazy, I know.
So definitely get that, and if you do listen on iTunes, please leave a review or rate us with the 5 stars. Would be awesome. We appreciate it.
There's a couple people who left comments for us on YouTube that I probably wouldn't want to write reviews.
Probably
for
not.
Us. But the majority of you, please write reviews for us on iTunes.
All right, do you want to read this letter from a mediocre rapper? Or to a mediocre rapper?
Well, I actually don't have it open at the moment, but I can kind of summarize it. I mean, we've all dealt with rappers as DJs, and as I mentioned earlier, I guess recording has become a lot easier than it used to be. So every rapper has a CD. Their CDs all have a nice cover for them. And I actually talked about this. This is a while ago. This was probably 2004, 2005 when I was still in the record pool, and we were talking back then about how these rappers now. We use the word, at least the person used the word mediocre here. The bad rappers now are all average. They're not, for the most part, they're not really, really bad. Everyone has pretty decent production. So the biggest thing is that it's just so much average now. And I mean that might be a bit of a different topic. I might have gone off there a little bit. The whole point of this thing was just how annoying is it when they over promote to us, and I know that's something I'm sure you guys have dealt with that, and I know you have dealt with that, and we did some skits with that back when we had DJ Douchebag. Did you guys ever catch any of the skits with DJ Douchebag?
I love the Tiesto one.
That was a good one.
Personal favorite.
Do you want to know something crazy? Is DJ Douchebag actually has a lot of different stuff that he does, but he you guys have probably seen that picture of Avicii. It's like his. Whenever they show Avicii now, it's like the picture they use. He's actually a photographer as well, and he took that picture that's used all over for Avicii now. It's been in some big magazines too, I think. So
nice.
DJ Douchebag actually has a lot of different personalities. Some of our viewers might be interested in that.
Not always. Not always.
No. Have you guys ever had any crazy experiences with rappers? I mean, do you get annoyed easily when you have to deal with them?
I was gonna say, you would mention all the rappers are average now, right?
Yeah.
And me and my good friend always go back and forth about this. Where is there really to go with rap anymore? I mean, think about it. Think about the evolution of it, right? You had the Run DMC guy with the slow flow, to the gangster rapper, to Eminem, who possibly fit every word in his vocabulary on an album. And now it's where do you go from there? What's the next level? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
it's pretty much, you just say that this thing is like this thing, and that's a verse.
Well, I was thinking about house. I mean, this is just goes for pretty much music in general. I mean, eventually there's gonna come a point where most stuff has been done. I mean, it's almost in a way, kind of I guess the dunk contest in the NBA, where you can only be in the air for 3 seconds. There's not a whole lot you can do up there. I think a lot of people have stopped watching that just for that reason. And in the dunk contest, what they have to do now that all the dunks have been done? They just keep pulling out different kinds of tricks and using props, which is kind of what the music industry has kind of come to, tricks and props, I guess.
I'm going to spit 15 bars blindfolded.
Yeah, I guess. Do you remember when D. Brown did the blindfolded dunk? You must remember that.
Yes, exactly what I was thinking about.
Yes. I think a lot of our viewers might not have been around at... What year was that? That was 89 or 90 or something? Or remember maybe 91, 92.
Conveniently don't remember.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I hope you weren't drinking back then.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was.
So anyway, we'll post the link to that so you can actually read this person's feeling and how sick they are of all these mediocre rappers. And another theme in that thing was how I guess a lot of this applies to DJs as well. They don't want to do their own networking. They want to leech on to other people who are already ahead of them. And some people don't have a concept of, you can't ask someone who already has, who's already way further than you in the industry to kind of do something together. I mean, you can ask by all means, but you just have to understand that the person might not want to do something that's going to benefit you a whole lot more than it's going to benefit them. I mean, you at least have to take that into consideration. I was telling JD, I mean, it'd be an awesome idea for me to do a track with Fetty Legrand, and we'll both promote equally. We'll both put it on our Facebook and everything. He'll put it on his Facebook, Fetty Legrand featuring Jay Spring. I'll put the same thing on mine. It'll be awesome. All our fans my fans will get to know his fans, and my fans will get to know him. His fans, he has a couple, will get to know me. I mean, it seems, if you don't think about it at all, it seems like a fair trade, but obviously it's not really a fair trade.
Yeah,
I think given with social media, I think people have kind of regressed a little bit on their, social skills. So, that's probably a big problem with it too. So, definitely, you see a lot of these rappers. They come up to you and how their hustle on how they're trying to get you to play it, trying to hand you money or whatever little bribe. But I don't think they actually get how the dance floor works. You know what I mean?
Oh no, that's the one thing. The main thing they don't have a concept of is that people have to know music for the most part that you play. I mean, obviously, I'm sure when you guys produce some of your original tracks, like the day you come out with them, you can try to sneak them in, and I mean, you can always sneak stuff in. But with hip hop, you just can't play like a random hip hop song. They think the crowd is gonna like it because their lyrics are good and because the beat is good. They don't understand that the crowd doesn't know their music and they're not gonna react to it.
And they don't understand that the mastering on their track is like half the volume that it needs to be to sound anywhere near good enough to fit with everything else you're playing.
When you were talking about Twitter before, I felt honored for a brief second this past weekend when I got a tweet, and the person they put at DJ J Spring and at King James, the actual LeBron James account, and it said listen to our song. I was kind of curious why I was tagged with LeBron James,
nice.
But it turns out the song was about LeBron James, so he did that to about 1,000 other DJs. He put their name and then
LeBron must have gone and heard it then. He must have clicked.
Oh no, I'm sure he did. I just got a kick out of how it was me, and I mean we're kind of equals, me and LeBron.
You should take a picture and put it on Instagram.
The tweet of the week last week. I do enjoy dumb tweets. I don't know if you guys saw the one with the football player from Ohio State. He was the third string quarterback. Did you hear about this tweet from last week? He wrote, "Why do we have to go to school?" He goes, "I came to Ohio State to play football, not to play school." I thought that was a pretty good tweet. That went viral last week.
Someone better check him for a concussion.
Yeah.
So it's not just rappers who are dumb on Twitter. There's a lot of good Twitter posts by people who don't know how the internet works.
Play school.
Yeah. I think he said we ain't come to play school. I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
He was obviously right.
So,
all right.
Anyway, I guess we'll continue a bit of our discussion that'll lead into the track that you guys have just come out, but we want to talk about how big I guess house still is right now. I know we touched on it last week, and I've kind of seen hip hop kind of get a little bit. I think some of the patrons are leaning a little bit more on the hip hop side these days. Now you guys are from Jersey, which I mean people know that people associate Jersey with house music. So I don't know if it's different for you guys. What's your experience lately? And I know house obviously has been all we talk about for the last couple of years at least. Do you think it's kind of hit a peak, or what's the deal?
Well, I think to sum it up the best way is Electric Daisy Carnival and Electric Zoo.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some pictures and some video. I mean, we just attended as patrons, just as music lovers. I mean, we had an awesome time.
The numbers are pretty much doubled since last year. So I went to Zoo last year, was my first year, this year I went with Mo, and I mean the numbers were just insane. And we actually know somebody who runs it, and they were talking about how they have to actually position the stage. They moved the stage back 4 times, like the distance, and how next year they're gonna have to actually angle it differently on a 45-degree angle to fit more people. I think it's a mix. I think that, you know, you have your hip hop fans, you have your house fans. A lot of what I do to kind of get over on that is I'll throw like the calling, like I have a match with the calling with no hands, okay. And it just, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the happy medium. You don't have to get put in that position where you're playing so many big records, because these records are bit, like, you know, they're a little noisier, they're a little bigger, a little more epic, and you know, you don't have to alienate the hip hop people.
Do you guys still do open format gigs? Yeah,
we do. We've actually been. It's actually been leaning more to house. Like we've been playing. I know in my sets I play probably 70-80% the house, but and then the rest is everything else. I sprinkle on everything else. But
well, you know, are you concerned about your image at all that way? And I'm not saying you should be. I mean, I'm just saying, is it something that you guys ever think about? Because especially now that you guys are coming out with some dope records that are on the house side, do you ever get concerned like that if you do the open format thing too much, people might not take you serious with the house? I mean, do you guys ever think about that stuff?
Well, honestly, as of recent, that's not really a thought, because house is as popular as it is. Yeah. And even if it might be on a decline with some people, I mean, like now, you know, the iron's hot. You know, so it's time to strike now. You know.
Plus, I think the U.S. hasn't caught up. I mean, Europe is on a totally different tip. They can play house all night, all day, all night, and that's what it is. It's on the radio constantly. You know, we're just catching up. The U.S. is behind, and we're in the metro area, so we're closer to New York. So this part of Jersey's associated with New York and stuff like that, and we're always in the city. And you know, New York. You think New York City, it'd be, and it's not what it used to be a decade ago. I mean, a decade ago, New York ran a lot of what dance music was, and now it's not that way anymore. So
to answer your question, I think the key is familiarity, just like how it's always been. You know, if you find a way to keep it familiar with people, whether it's dropping a vocal on top of something that's popular, then you know you're golden. You know, stay creative with your sets, keep it fresh but familiar. And don't have a problem dropping house around right now.
So do you guys think that people are getting sick of house music, though? It's been like shoved down everybody's throat over the last year, it seems like all these festivals, obviously these festivals are getting more and more popular, like you said. But I mean, these DJs, it seems like the market is being oversaturated. I mean, they're being booked everywhere. Obviously they're making a lot of money, but it's not like it's hard to see these guys anymore. There's not really pent-up demand because they're not touring around you anymore. They're everywhere. So, I don't know, do you think that is affecting the scene right now?
I think once you go to a festival, I think that's when you understand how the scene works, because it's totally different. A festival and a club is just, it's a different vibe. It's, you know, you're there for what you're, you know, when you buy a ticket to go see a series of guys play, and that's what a festival is. It's, you know, Mo and I went to I'm not particularly a dubstep fan, you know, even though I saw Skrillex last year, and actually I thought he was amazing, but so I will say that. And then we saw somebody who was under Skrillex. I forget the guy's name.
You went on right before Aoki.
And the guy killed it, and it's, you know, and then they had guys that were doing Mumbatone. So you're kind of exposed to other stuff. So it's like you go in there thinking that one thing's gonna be great, and by the time it's over, you know, you're a fan of 3 more people that you probably would have never thought. Like I saw Sander Van Doorn, who opened up for Axwell, and Sander Van Doorn was amazing. He was probably one of the if I had to rate them all that day, Sander Van Doorn was the one. And I was like, I don't know if I want to see him. So it's one of those things when you go to a festival, it's, you know, and there's different tents and different environments and scene and stuff like that. Like, that's what's cool about a festival compared to a club. Like, when you go to a club, I get it. Like, you know, you go to see Avicii somewhere, and, you know, he does a little 2-hour set. I can see it being boring.
I was going to say, because the people who actually are enthusiasts for the progressive house out there. Pretty much any flavor of EDM that's going on right now to the clubs. Or I think a lot of the DJs who go to the festivals try to translate that to the clubs, and it just does not work. I mean, there is a difference between a big room with 3,000 people and a festival with 500,000. There's different types of tracks you can get away with. It's a different atmosphere, different energy, and it doesn't work well. And maybe if you're very creative at it, and like you said, you get the right blend or the right edit, you can get away with it. But I think that's the part that's being forced down people's throats. I have seen DJs who just beat the crowd over the head with the wrong kind of the house, and that could be giving it a bad name right now.
But that's what I think. See, this is the problem with a lot of guys just having Serato and stuff like that, is they don't actually, like I'm really big into programming. Like, it's all about how you program your records, your sets. I don't pre-program my stuff, but you feel the crowd and you know what's gonna get them to where. So I think a lot of guys don't really put a lot of thought. They just drop the record. They're like, okay, it's peak. I got everybody on the dance floor. Here it is. And I don't think they do a lot of stuff like that. And that's why, like I said, edits. I don't even want to say mashups, because it's a little more involved. You know what I mean? With things that you get it to work, and that's how you actually get the crowd familiar. And I've actually worked a lot of rooms that you get the room familiar. Like, I have an area where I spin it all the time, and I get to break a lot of records. So that's a good plus.
Well, speaking of, I guess the edits, one thing we want to touch on is like bootlegs versus production versus original production. What do you guys kind of feel about the labels and actually the difference between the two?
Take that one.
Difference between, it's funny, somebody was telling me that mashups are no longer mashups, now they're called. To me, a bootleg is anything somebody did in original production, like a remix, and then they reintroduce it without obviously some kind of clearing a sample or something like that, which is almost simple now. But I think they all have their purpose. I think sometimes you do a bootleg and it just brings a record back, a certain, like an old one, kind of like what we did with this. I think sometimes bootlegs are done, not tastefully, because you didn't actually have to clear it. And in the original stuff, I mean, there's a lot now dealing with a lot of labels and stuff. We notice the behind the scenes. There's a lot of paperwork that has to be done. There's a lot of all kinds of publishing stuff that goes on, and publishing is really how people make money. It's on the back end, not in the beginning. So I think it's a mixture of everything and how it's all set up, and
yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think the way, at least I see it, I'm sure he shares with me, is bootlegs provide a service. So whether it's you want to take something that's popular but not playable and try to make it playable for yourself, or use it to gain popularity, and that's pretty much the launching pad towards original production and trying to make this a lifetime career. The way I look at it, I would like to be able to do this full time for as long as I can.
See, the one thing when I hear bootleg, sometimes I'm not even sure what to think, and that kind of that label, the name bootleg, kind of bothers me. I feel bad for some of the people who put a lot of work on their bootlegs. Like, it's considered a bootleg, like how you said, Cova, how if you just do anything to a track, like without clearing the sample, so that means that some people are actually doing their own production in addition to the track that they're touching on. Like, I like the Mickey Fortune bootleg of Original Dawn by Major Lazer. That's a dope bootleg that I always play, and Mickey actually did a lot of work with that track and kind of created his own kind of build up and his own break. But it's also considered a bootleg if you do, I mean, some people even just put hype over a track, call it a bootleg, or some people will just take track A, they'll take track B that has a big build up, and they'll just literally cut and paste A, the verse, and then they'll take the build up from B, just cut and paste and put them together, and that's called a bootleg as well. So I guess I'm a little bothered by kind of the lack of clarity in what exactly it is that you're doing when I see the name bootleg.
I would say it bothers me. I just think it's become the trendy thing to do.
I think it's an ignorant. I'll be honest with you. Like, you don't put bootleg if you mash two songs together. It's a mashup. I don't get. You know, I feel like it's almost like the guy saying it like a mashup guy. I'm the. Now I do bootleg. Like, I don't know. That's how I feel. Maybe it's because we put so much time and effort into these things, but I just think that through time, I feel like, because a bootleg, you put a lot of work into it. You do a remix, you do your own builds, etc., etc. You change it up. It's a bootleg. No, you didn't clear the sample. I mean, that's really the only thing you're saying with the bootleg. It's an unofficial mix.
Well, Mo,
otherwise, or a mashup.
No, I agree. No, I was gonna say, Mo, the reason that it bothers me is because sometimes people will call a certain track a bootleg, and I'll just assume that they created the build and the break themselves and added that to the track, and because they use some obscure house track that I'm not aware of, I don't know that they just cut and pasted. And that's why it kind of bothers me, is because I don't know what work people did on some of these tracks.
And I think people are trying so hard to get away from the term mashup because it has a stigma around it now that they just want to call anything that was a mashup a bootleg to give it like new life and new flavor, and it is the wrong thing to do, I think.
I mean, blends are bootlegs. I mean, it's...
People just want to get so far away from that mashup term.
I think
it's crazy.
That's definitely partly what it is. Well, I guess now we've come to the part where we're going to talk about a track that isn't a bootleg at all. It's the track that you guys have been working on recently, and it's not entirely done, correct? It's just about done?
Well, it'll be done by the time you guys post this video, that's for sure.
Okay.
We just got to mix it, do a little tweaking, like fixing it up a little bit and polishing is the word.
Okay, and so are we actually going to post the track? This probably won't be up till when? This interview?
Well, this will be up by tomorrow probably, but
later tonight or early tomorrow.
Yeah, and the track will go up this weekend?
Well, do you want us having the track up this weekend, or did you want us to post it with this interview right here?
One way or another, it's going to be debuted on Remix Report.
Okay, perfect. That's all we need to know. Perfect. So you guys will be able to. When I say you guys, I mean our viewers will be able to get this track very soon. JD and I had a chance to just listen to it before Mo and Cova came on and joined us here. Awesome track. Bryan Adams, Summer of '69, which is a classic. And we mentioned earlier, kind of a progressive feel. It kind of actually, it's kind of crazy to say this, because when did Summer of '69 come out originally? Was it early '80s, or is it?
Probably.
I remember listening to it in like junior high school. Yeah. So it was.
Do you want to give us a date for that so we can?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
While I'm backtracking.
Anyway, I was gonna say this track came out in the '80s, and the sound that you guys gave it, and his vocals still sound so good. It almost reminds me a little bit of "Don't Worry Child" by Swedish House Mafia. It's almost like the same kind of vibe, which is kind of crazy to think that a track's so old. The life you guys gave it, I think it definitely freshened it up, and it definitely has the right feel.
And I definitely like the feel good vibe of it. Like when it drops, it's not like it's just got a nice happy vibe to it. Like, let's party and have fun.
It's not Summer silly
69. Yeah, exactly.
Or dark, yeah. No, it's cool. Thank you. Yeah, it was something that Mo brought to the table. He actually had the acapella. He somehow got the acapella. And
Bryan he's still alive, right? You guys
shout to Mr. Skills. Thank you very much. I'll be sure to give him a pat on the back. Now, a good friend of ours hooked it up. And
not DJ Skills.
Mr. DJ Skills.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, so
I'm sure his inbox will be full. But
just got blasted.
To be honest, I wasn't sure on how the track was gonna come out. I mean, it was one of those things that it was such a classic. Sometimes you're real hesitant to touch classics, but we're pretty happy with how it came out, and then how we updated it, and I think it's gonna do good. I think it'll rock in the clubs. I mean, it's a classic, so people are gonna know it.
Things always sound better in your head before you put them down, and we'll probably have a dozen different examples of where that goes. But yeah, Don't You Worry Child was exactly the kind of feel we were thinking about, and I think it's coming back, and we always know that not every mix you come out with is going to be a bonus. You know, it's not going to be a guaranteed hit, and just got to keep remembering you got to take some risks sometime. You know, you got to. That's pretty much the plan with me and Cova all the time. Always trying to find something that's not playable and make it playable. And you know, we feel really good about this one.
So what was the process like going into this, like putting it together? What did you come up with first, like the first idea, and kind of what was the process going back and forth between using ideas from each of you to make this final version of the track?
So I guess being the white boy of the crew, I came up with the riff, and pretty much handed it over and said, you know, put some drums on it. And that's totally not how we work, but we're pretty racist, so I usually stick to the riffs and he sticks to the drums.
We what it is that Mo plays, so he's really good at his riffs and stuff like that. And then what I do is, that's when I try to bring the drums up and the feeling. This one I didn't really drum it up too much. I just kept the drums real simple, made it bounce on everything, and then really was more worried about the feel, the energy. So then once we get that, I take his riff and we start, him and I collectively start messing with how we're gonna get it to pump. You know what I mean? How that feeling we get, and then we just build from there. Change some things. The initial idea never is what really comes out, but as we build it, then we revolve around that. It just becomes something. But the bottom, once you get the kick and everything like that, we got the riff and the kick. It just kind of, then we can work backwards.
Not to downplay, just because it's not a symphony of drums doesn't mean that it was simple by any means. I mean, there are a lot of techniques that go into making drums sound good, no matter how simple they are. And you know, that's what I kind of lean on him to do.
Yeah.
So you said this wasn't the normal process for you guys. What is the normal process?
Probably get a track done in a day instead of 2 weeks.
Yeah, normally we have an idea. We'll start with you know, let's say just say it was a riff once again. We'll have a riff and then just start it from the ground up. So it'll be you know, build, get how it comes out, and then we'll work backwards. Like then we'll go to the front and then the back. It sounds really confusing, but if you saw us do it,
basically. We try to create the climax of the track first and work backwards.
Yeah.
So if you got the climax there and you're like, okay, this is how I want it to be, then you just kind of build everything else around it to support it.
Exactly. And now we're actually starting to do a lot more original stuff. So that's you know, if you sit there and you work on the beginning part, you're never going to get to this second part. So now with that, we're really working more in like a song format kind of feel.
I mean, once you have that huge climax, then you can kind of deconstruct that and use little parts of that to start the song out and do your build up by using some little parts until you get to that climax. So that definitely makes sense. Kind of start with as many parts as you can, and then kind of pull little things out here and there, and to make the smaller parts. So
you know, I'm definitely excited about this for Scorpion Bar. For those who don't know, Scorpion kind of has a little bit of a rock theme, but we try to keep it fresh sounding. And I like how if I'm playing kind of some housey stuff towards the end of the night and I want to go back into rock, this is a dope option to have. I like Pluto did a remix, I think, of Journey, Don't Stop Believing. I don't know if you guys heard that one. He kind of made it sound fresh as well. It's good to have this option instead of going back to some of those old redrums after playing like a house set. It's just not the same. So I definitely prefer ending the night this way, and this mix is going to be a dope opportunity for me to do that.
Can you guys tell us a little bit about your studio? What's in the studio and what you guys are using?
Oh, cool. Basically, we do a lot of stuff in the box. A lot of our stuff is obviously the room treatment. We soundproof the crap out of this thing, but it's actually really comfortable. Room treatment's a big deal. It takes a lot of the reflections out and stuff like that. I mean, that's a big key. Good sound card is good, and your monitors. I mean, that's pretty much the key to every studio. People ask me about programs and stuff like that. I kind of feel like it's all what you're comfortable with. You know, we happen to use Ableton. Actually, he was a big user of FL for a long time. And you know, I'm sure he still does edits and stuff on it.
No, I've converted full time now.
So
Took a while.
but you know, we use Logic Pro. I mean, there's some guys we work with that use Pro Tools, but it's really all that gets it down. You can suck in all the programs. How about that?
Yeah.
So that's a better.
It is all about knowing what you have and being able to use it to its potential. That's the most important.
I was gonna say I've been guilty of this myself at times, but you sometimes getting caught up in all the programs and the apps and the plugins, you forget to just kind of sit back and listen to what it really sounds like. And that's what you're trying to get to at the end of the day, is you're just trying to get that sound, or something that sounds good, not, you know, overly done or overly processed or things like that. And there's a lot of different plugins that get you there. And, you know, sometimes it's just preference of what you're comfortable on using.
Another thing too, I think with dance music, what a lot of stuff is, in all these records we play, like you know, Tongue is such a repetitive record, but it's all about the feel. It's how it does it, how it moves when the drops come. You know, the little things in it make the track move. You know, the hats, etc., etc. So I think a lot of people, when they do dance music, they forget it's actually about the feel. When you do these records, you really have to kind of close your eyes and stop looking at the screen. Stop, you know, adding all this and that, and just feel on where you're going. And once it feels right, I mean, it's smooth sailing from there. Basically, if you simplify the track, simple is good, less is more. Just keep it. It's all about the feeling, and you know, make sure, just study records. I mean, really study records. Really, like, you know, test it on the dance floor. There's a lot of stuff we test, and you know, we think it's epic, and then we get there and we play it, and it's not that good, or there'll be a part that's way too long. So don't be afraid to test your records. You know, the dance floor doesn't lie. So.
I think it's funny that you said too long sometimes, because we had that problem with one of our records that we just did. When you're in the studio, I guess you don't. Time doesn't have the same kind of feel as time. It's not the same concept of time as when you're DJing. And when you're DJing and that break goes on for too long, that it's like a totally different world. I think
it's like death. You just want to die.
That's fun.
No, I think that's a good point, though, that you made earlier about just listening, not getting caught up in the programs and all that kind of stuff, because I think too many people do that. They want to get on the hottest, newest programs and plugins and stuff, and they get caught up in that, and instead of learning the sounds, learning the programs they have, and really mastering them, and it's almost, I think it's a mechanism people use to not actually get anything done. You know, they keep trying to get all the newest, coolest stuff, and they don't end up doing anything. And
they're talking about the soft synth program that's gonna give them that epic synth sound. Come on.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Just listen and learn your stuff, I would say. Best advice.
I agree. So again, we're gonna be giving this record. We're actually giving this away. This record, or are we just?
Man. For you guys, exclusive. Come on.
I wasn't sure for a second. We were just gonna host it, or if we were actually giving it away. So that's good that we're giving this away. I just wanted to make sure.
By
donation.
Want us to put your little PayPal button up there for you guys?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly.
All right, cool. So that'll be up very soon. What do we have to look forward to you guys from in the future? I know you said you're going to be doing some more originals. Do you have any more remixes lined up? Is Skills hooked up any more acapellas that we should know about?
Well, at the moment, I have a deal with Tweakspin in Grooves Universal, and it's obviously distributed through Universal. It's a small label out of New York, and they're going to start distributing a lot of our records. I'm 7 records in. Mo's about to jump on board. We're going to get him up to speed, so because we've been working on a lot of stuff. So there's a record coming out tomorrow, October 9th. It's called I Need Your Love. It's me and the House Alliance, featuring Alicia Madison. I can't speak English there. Anyway, and it's going to drop tomorrow. I'm actually going to send it to you guys as soon as we're done here.
Cool.
It's a really cool record. Really excited about it. But right now, what we're doing is we're transitioning into a lot of more original stuff. We're going to continue with the booth. Probably definitely do the white label stuff. Just to go through, not have to wait. Because with these records, when you actually put them out, legit, there's a buffer. Like they have to put them out. You have to schedule them. There's all kinds of marketing and stuff that have to go into it. And with the label and stuff. So everybody has to be, in sync with the promotions and stuff.
And not everything you work on gets released either. So there's a lot of trial and error.
Exactly. So sometimes, you go right back to the drawing board. So, a lot of records in the works. Right now, we're gonna. Right now, we have so many original things about to start working on. We have some new writers coming in. We have a bunch of we're gonna start working with. I would love to tell you, but we haven't locked that yet. So, but we'll probably have something letting you guys know. And that's what we're looking forward to. Just a lot of and playing out, obviously. Right now in New York, I'm playing my first gig in New York in a long time. November 27th. It's called Love That Fever. It's a really cool promotions company. It does a lot of really, really big house venues in the city. They actually do things in Mexico too, and out of the country. So just a lot of stuff. So Mo's gonna be setting up with that too, and we're just trying to get on everything and anything, and just get on this music thing, man. Just constantly, 24/7. So
awesome. Well,
I'm just hoping that by December, we're gonna be really fucking awesome. I think it's insane.
I think you guys are really awesome right now.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
No, but to be honest, man, that's what it's all about right now. Is just trying to push and push and push to the next level. And the goals we got set ahead for us in December are hopefully going to be a lot more in the original sides rather than the remixes that is on the site and the record pools and stuff. So hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about by the end of the year.
I just want to say something too. Also, how we started this. I started with the mashup stuff, and then to learn the programming stuff, and then we started doing the remixes. We kind of been using these remixes as kind of like a platform to learn and really get to know the market. You know what I mean? Using the stuff, seeing what people like, we've had a lot of records that missed, but from those records, that's what we do is we take that and we see what we can do on the next one. So it's not like I'm hyping up the original stuff. It's just kind of what we've been working from the beginning and kind of just setting the goals.
It's like the mediocre rapper. You know what I mean? That we actually did our market research. So and like you said, not everything is a home run, and not everyone likes our stuff either. But that's why you just take that as constructive and try to build it into the next one.
No, I mean that is the main goal, is to have that original production stuff that you can go and make a really big name for and get those paychecks from and residuals and tour and all that kind of stuff. You need those originals to pop off to really make that happen. So
now, DJ Cova and Mo Rada, is that you guys going to stick with that, or is there going to be any duo name that you guys are?
We've been thinking about that, but we haven't decided.
Now, JD and I have been thinking for the last, it seems like 20 years now. We haven't thought of anything. So I don't know.
It'll be carefully. It might take longer to debate that than it does to actually put out a track. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested Jump Springers for us. That was one of the suggestions that we got. We haven't adapted that yet. So I guess keep us up to date on if there's a name for you guys. I think DJ Cova and Morada works. I think JD and Spring is good for now, I think.
No, it's the names we know.
Yeah, exactly. We're familiar with you guys. We know who you are. It might just be better just to stick, not reinvent the wheel.
If we do a new name, then we got to start all from scratch, from the very bottom. Who wants to do that?
That's true.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again for letting us host that track and talking to us about your whole process. Definitely good to get your input on all of our topics today as well.
You guys, all our viewers, are definitely going to like this track. So we can't wait for everyone to hear it. And I'm sure you guys can't wait for everyone to hear it as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you for having us, seriously.
Of course.
You guys are great. Thanks for all the information you guys give us with your, with your show.
Well, while we have you on here, who do you think is right more often, me or JD? don't know if you guys.
DJ douchebag.
DJ douchebag. He's
I
right.
feel like the best.
We can't argue. Can't argue with that.
Play that right down the middle.
Yeah,
You see that?
exactly.
See that?
Very political. It's
Okay.
nice.
All right, guys. We'll definitely be talking to you guys soon. Take it easy.
Remixreport.com